Metron Harmony is a system that's kind of closely allied with air traffic control, and Metron carries pushes a lot of information. So air traffic control provides a lot of information over the Metron Harmony interface about what it knows about flights. There's fuel information and loading information and all kinds of other stuff that's very important for Virgin Australia to have. So the way it works is Metron publishes a stream of messages to a queue, kind of the way these things work. Virgin reads those messages in, and then a couple of things happen. The first thing that happens is that those messages then get absorbed into the core, what's called flight state engine. So those messages then become part of the core state, the master state of the flights. And so the way that works is there's a Kafka service. So those messages come in an XML format. There's a Kafka service that applies a structure to them, publishes them to another topic, and then we do the typical like join back to the master stream of data to work out what details we need. One of the tricks with Metron is that there are two standards for representing things like aircraft types and airport codes in the aviation world. There's one standard called IATA, which uses 3-letter codes. So, for instance, the code for Brisbane International Airport in IATA is B&E. And then there's another standard called ICAO, and it uses 4-letter codes. So Brisbane and ICAO is YB&E, I think, something like that. So Metron only talks ICAO. The internal systems at Virgin only talk IATA, and so one of the things that has to happen is there's a translation. So, in the old days, what you would do is have a separate database where you have those mappings, and then you would go for each message that comes in, you would go, one at a time, painstakingly look up all of the translations that you need. In the new system, what we can do is because once we've structured the data, again, it's queryable and it's got a schema associated with it, so we can do a stream join back to the mapping topic. There's another topic that maps those port codes and equipment type codes and so on. And so that's how you achieve that translation, and then those messages go into the flight state engine and become part of the master flight state. Okay, so that's one direction with Metron. The other direction with Metron is that when a new flight is scheduled, so air traffic control, it doesn't have its own master list of Virgin's flights. Virgin has to tell air traffic control, here are the flights that are coming up. So when a new flight is scheduled, that flight has to get published to Metron. So we have a thing that goes the other direction, where when new scheduled flights come through, they get translated to Metron format. All of those IATA codes get translated to ICAO codes and gets published back out to Metron the other way. It's a little more complicated because when you do that, then if it's a new flight, Metron will give you back a Metron ID that you then need to associate with the flight. So then as it circles back around and updates come through, you're always make sure you're talking about the same flight. In the old days, every step of this was a query against a database, and there were multiple databases and multiple sources of fragility and complexity and delay. And the new system is a quite straightforward set of streams that just join streams together and push information from a source to a target, and you have multiple consumers. So yeah, it works extremely well. It's simpler to understand. It's cheaper to operate. It's easier to maintain.